Well, welcome everybody. Thanks so much for being here. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that the land that we're meeting on today is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. And it's now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people from all across Turtle Island. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by the Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. So thank you for taking the time to join us today to the second Wheel-Trans consultation for community feedback. This is a hybrid event, and so I also want to welcome everybody that's here in the room, but also for the folks who are joining us online as well. I'm Denise, and I will be your moderator for this event. I work for a company called Lura, and we're a neutral third-party facilitator and meeting recorder, just for meetings just like this. It's my job to ensure that your voices get heard and that you can ask your questions during the question period. I'm here with my colleague Marissa. Marissa's over at a table in the back, and she's going to be taking notes from today's session. It's her job to ensure that what you say here today gets recorded, and then we will report what you say here online and in person, and also from Tuesday, we'll report that back to the folks at TTC and Wheel-Trans, so that everything that you say to us will be captured, we'll write down. You can also write your comments on a comment card. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in a minute. And anything that's written in the chat will also be captured. That feedback will be compiled into a report, and we'll give that report to the TTC, and that report will help to guide decision-making regarding accessible transit at the TTC going forward. And so that's why we're here today. We're here today because the TTC wants to receive feedback on the Family of Services program. Family of Services is also called FOS, and so you'll hear it referred to as both FOS and Family of Services throughout today's presentation. We want to know your thoughts and your comments and your questions, and we also want to address your key concerns here today. In addition to the hybrid public consultations, you can also give us your feedback through an online survey. So you can access that survey at ttc.ca on the website. You can also access it through the Wheel-Trans booking site, or if you prefer to use the telephone, you can call us. The number, I'm going to give it to you, but we can write it down for you later, is 416-393-4111. The survey will be open until the end of the month, April 30th. The presentation and discussion today will be closed captioned on the screen to my left, but you are right. And also we have ASL interpreters present here today. Before I introduce the people that are up here with me at the table, I want to share with you the ways that you'll be able to participate in the question and answer period at the end. We really want to hear your thoughts and questions and your feedback. And so if you want to share those with us, there's two ways that you can do that in person. The first way is if you would prefer to fill out a comment card or a question card, there are folks at the back that have blue comment cards. And if you want one right now, you can put up your hand and they'll bring them around to you to fill out, and we will read them out loud. If you would prefer to speak into a microphone and ask your question, you can put up your hand during the question and answer period, and we'll create a speakers list, and a microphone will be brought to you. If you're online, if you're joining us on the internet, you can use the chat box and type your question into the chat box. We will take periodic breaks during the live questions and take questions from the internet chat as well. I'll go over these one more time before we get started. We really want to hear those suggestions and possible improvements to the service and hear your questions so that we can respond to them and answer some of them today while we have these folks here with us. So I'd love to introduce the folks who are sitting at the table with me. At the end of the table, we have Cameron Penman. He is the head of Wheel-Trans. To my right, we have Angela Marley. She's a member of the Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit, ACAT, as you might know it. And then to my left, once again, Dean Milton, the Manager of Strategic Initiatives, Wheel-Trans. I'm going to invite Cameron to start us off and share a few words, and then we'll have a Wheel-Trans presentation by both Dean and Angela, and then we'll move into the Q&A period.
Thank you, Denise. So as Denise mentioned, my name is Cameron Penman, and I am the head of Wheel-Trans. And just here today, I'm kind of proud of where we're at in our 10-year transformation program that we are about 7.5 years into. There's been a lot of great work that we have done to improve the service that Wheel-Trans offers, but there's certainly a lot more work that we have to do. And specifically with integrating the conventional transit system, into our operations. We always value public engagement and customer feedback, and evidence of that is the fact that we run our Wheel-Trans customer satisfaction survey once a year, and on top of that, the TTC holds a forum on accessible transit once per year, usually in the fall. And at this consultation, we're happy to focus on the family of services travel model, and specifically accessing the accessible conventional system for Wheel-Trans customers. I'm very glad, as Denise mentioned, to have Angela Marley up on the panel with me today here. She's a dedicated advocate for accessible transit, and she's a veteran of the TTC's Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit. She has put in a lot of effort over the years with ACAT to improve accessibility at the TTC. And Dean Milton, our Manager of Strategic Initiatives, he's worked extremely hard over several years now on the Family of Services program and various other improvements to our service. And he is the perfect person to lead you through the presentation that we have for you today. So without further delay, Dean, over to you.
Thank you, Cameron. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dean Milton, as Cameron said, and I'm the Manager of Strategic Initiatives at Wheel-Trans. It's my pleasure to be here this afternoon, along with my fellow panel members and other staff from Wheel-Trans and TTC. I would like to thank the TTC Chair, Jamal Myers, for initiating these very important customer and stakeholder consultations to discuss the TTC's family of services. In addition to the 2 meetings that have been organized in person and live stream, as Denise mentioned, a survey has been developed to capture customer and stakeholder comments and opinions. It's available on the TTC's website. It's also available on the Wheel-Trans online booking. And for those of you who prefer to speak with somebody, you can contact our customer service team at 416-393-4111. And the survey will remain open till the end of this month. To date, close to 700 people have already completed the survey, which is fantastic feedback, and they've shared their opinions on family of services. Our mission at Wheel-Trans is to support the community by offering barrier-free, accessible service that is efficient, reliable, and available. The vision we have is to strive for dignity, spontaneity, fairness, and freedom of travel for all our customers. Eligibility requirements expanded back on January 1st, 2017 from what was the old model, which was just based on functional physical mobility, to encompass all disabilities, whether they be physical, mental health, sensory, or cognitive. And this was in accordance with the AODA, which is the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act. And of course, this has resulted in an increase in our customer base, which now sits at about 38,000 customers. I'm going to turn over the presentation to a long-time ACAT member, Angela Marley, who's going to provide more information on the important work that ACAT does. Angela?
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming, and thank you for your input and feedback. It's important. As a panelist, I figure I should be telling you my background. I'm a public transit user for my whole life. When I developed MS, I had decreasing ability to walk to the point where I registered for Wheel-Trans and eventually was only able to use Wheel-Trans for 5 years. When I got this wheelchair, or not this one, but my first wheelchair in 2010 or 2011, I was still using only Wheel-Trans. Eventually, I got some additional support from the people that I served with on ACAT. A number of members are very helpful. At this point, I really want to say a lot of the changes that we've made to the accessible system and Wheel-Trans are credit to the input of people who have been on ACAT. Many of these people you know, including I want to mention Sam Savona, who passed away last year. Sam was the first person who was using a wheelchair, power wheelchair, and traveled independently on the subway because the elevators were able to enable him to go from one station to another. Anyway, eventually I used the conventional system, starting out, as you know, any of you who've started using a wheelchair, you figure that the doors that you're going through are a foot wide or a half a meter wide, and you are a meter or 4 feet wide. So therefore, it's scary to be able to go. But I got some really good advice from Adam Cahoon, who said, just go to Finch Station, because that's the one I was near, roll around, don't plan to get on the station at all, or the subway or anything, but just be familiar with it. It was really helpful, because I therefore slowly was able to board the train and then get off and build up confidence. As time went on, now I'm at the point where I'm using the conventional system almost all the time. I, like other people, do use Wheel-Trans, and I believe the TTC services are there for people at all levels. Some are able to use conventional system, some are able to only use Wheel-Trans. Some can use a little of both, depending on their situation. I need to talk about ACAT. Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit has been around for 30 years. It's composed of 15 volunteers. Each year, there are 5 members who join the committee and 5 who retire. So I encourage you to give the thought to becoming a member of ACAT. We need passionate, involved people who are interested in promoting accessible transit. Applications are available. The Wheel-Trans Operations Subcommittee is one of the 4 subcommittees of ACAT. They deal with all of the things, including family services related to Wheel-Trans. The Communications Committee has dealt with all of the information that goes out to customers. The Service Planning Subcommittee deals with the operations, such as the procedures that the operators are to provide whenever they're assisting someone to get on and off the streetcar. The Design Review Subcommittee reviews all of the accessible features of the buildings and of the vehicles. So you're able to contribute your ideas, and many of them, through the public forum, through deputations to ACAT, have been looked at by the staff and have been incorporated to make the system better. Your feedback helps to make the system better. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela.
That's good.
The purpose of the public consultation today. On February 22nd, 2024, the TTC board adopted the following request from City Council based on the motions put forward from the Toronto Accessibility Advisory Committee to engage in consultations with ACAT, people with disabilities, and community-based organizations that provide support services for people with disabilities prior to the implementation of the Wheel-Trans transformation program elements that would require the use of the Family of Services program. Such consultations will inform any potential changes to the design and implementation of the program to address concerns around safety, equity, mitigating impacts of service disruptions within the conventional transit system on Family of Services customers, and the impact of TTC crowding as service demand increases and the number of people with accessibility needs grows. The TTC remains one of the safest transit systems in the world. As your safety partner, we want customers to know how we're making the TTC even safer. Our operators, station collectors, special constables, and supervisory personnel are always prepared to assist you. In January 2023, the City of Toronto and the TTC partnered with the Toronto Police Services and community service providers to improve community safety and well-being on the transit system. In September 2023, the TTC vastly enhanced the visible presence of staff throughout the system by hiring 130 customer service agents and 30 supervisors at key subway stations and on bus and streetcar networks. This multidisciplinary approach balances safety, security, and compassion to ensure that immediate safety risks are addressed and mitigated, and that people in need are connected with the support. Based on recent customer feedback surveys, the level of customer satisfaction with personal safety on the TTC sits at around 60%. Since October 2023, customer satisfaction with safety on the TTC has increased by 7 points, and with overall satisfaction among subway users up 5 points. The rate of offenses against customers decreased by 10% across the system, and since January 2023, the rate of offenses against customers has shown an overall decline of 24%. Every month, the TTC surveys 500 customers, measuring overall satisfaction levels across all modes on specific aspects such as safety, comfort, cleanliness, staff helpfulness, information, and the ease of use. And these findings are published monthly in the TTC CEO report and presented to the TTC board. The goal of the Wheel-Trans 10-year strategy is to help make the TTC more accessible, equitable, inclusive, and sustainable for existing and future customers. In accordance with the Integrated Accessibility Standards Regulation, the IASR, under the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, the AODA, Wheel-Trans service and eligibility criteria have been expanded to include any person who has a disability that prevents them from consistently using conventional transit for all or part of their trip. The Wheel-Trans 10-year strategy was approved by the TTC board in November 2016 and by City Council in February 2017. And these changes were required to address, as we mentioned, the legislative requirements under the AODA, to modernize the service delivery model, keeping in line with other GTHA transit properties and agencies and industry standards, and of course, to provide spontaneity and on-demand service. It's important to note that no new service changes were put forward over the last couple of years, and the re-registration process for Wheel-Trans began in 2017. As per the legislative requirements under the AODA, as of January 1st, 2017, every specialized transportation service provider shall have 3 categories of eligibility. The first, a person with a disability that prevents them from using conventional transportation service shall be categorized as having unconditional eligibility. Next, a person with a temporary disability that prevents them from using conventional transportation services shall be categorized as having temporary eligibility. And third, a person with a disability where environmental or physical barriers limit their ability to consistently use conventional transportation services shall be categorized as having conditional eligibility. In order to ensure that Wheel-Trans eligibility is equitable to all, both new customers and legacy customers, those customers who registered prior to January 1st, 2017, must be assessed using the same eligibility criteria. The next slide just goes over what the breakdown, our current breakdown of eligibility is amongst our 38,000 customers. And we see that to date, 48% of our customers are unconditional. The other 42% are conditional, and we also have 10% of our customers with temporary eligibility. But it's also important to note that since 2017, all Wheel-Trans customers can request and receive door-to-door services regardless of their eligibility status as the family of services remains optional. Stakeholder and customer consultations began in 2016 and helped to shape all aspects of the Wheel-Trans 10-year strategy before its implementation in January of 2017. These critical consultations involved over 40 organizations and stakeholders, government agencies, the legal community, and of course, ACAT and Wheel-Trans customers and the members of the public. Wheel-Trans ensures that all strategy and policy changes, for instance, the purchasing of new vehicles, communication efforts, and technology upgrades, are always first vetted through the advisory committee, ACAT. We continue to provide annual updates to the TTC board, and we are always open to discussions on the 10-year strategy and family of services with external stakeholders as well as our customers. Since 2017, over 14,000 customers have voluntarily re-registered under the new eligibility. About 9,000 of these customers remain active today, which means that close to 70% of our legacy customers have re-registered, which is wonderful. Over the next few years, Wheel-Trans will continue to engage with the remaining 4,500 customers to encourage them to submit an application for re-registration. As I've mentioned earlier, all customers will continue to have uninterrupted Wheel-Trans door-to-door service throughout this process. Wheel-Trans also understands that some of our customers are concerned about crowding on the conventional system and how it might impact their family of services travel. The TTC service planning team monitors crowding levels and service performance on a regular basis to ensure that service operates as scheduled and within TTC board-approved crowding standards. The TTC staff is constantly reviewing suggestions and complaints from customers. This is a source of additional information for adjusting service with respect to intervals between vehicles, the start and finish time, and other service details. Service is adjusted every 4 to 6 weeks to address any observed issues. Each operating division is constantly measuring and monitoring service reliability and operations, which is used to improve service on the TTC. The results are based on real-life, day-to-day observations of operating staff and the input that they receive from you, our customers. The TTC is planning to implement improvements to regular service in the spring of this year, and as approved in our service budget, and this will result in improved service frequency and reduced crowding on many routes, which of course will address gaps in the 10-minute network and updating schedules to reflect operating conditions and improving service reliability. A second series of budgeted service improvements is being planned for fall of this year, and in tandem with this, we're in the process of resuming off-peak crowding standards, which will ensure that more room is available on board during off-peak periods. The TTC also has a policy to accommodate customers traveling on buses who have mobility devices. If the bus arrives and it's too crowded, the operator will contact transit control to determine if the next buses to arrive can accommodate the customer. If they cannot, Wheel-Trans will be contacted and they will accommodate the customer. What is important for our customers that are traveling on the family of services to know is that we have processes and procedures already in place to deal with service delays, or at least to reduce their impact. The Wheel-Trans scheduling system itself builds time to allow customers to make the necessary transfers to avoid receiving a no-show. Wheel-Trans dispatchers receive notifications about service issues and displays and on the conventional TTC, including elevator outages. They're trained to reschedule FOS trips to avoid route or subway stations where service disruptions are occurring. They contact the customer who's traveling to make them aware of any changes to their routing. And if the delays are significant, they will convert the FOS trip into a door-to-door trip. If a service disruption results in a customer missing their FOS connection or receiving a no-show, they can contact the Wheel-Trans priority line to schedule another trip. If the customer does not have a phone, they can alert TTC staff to contact Transit Control, who will contact Wheel-Trans on their behalf. The family of services. A key pillar of the Wheel-Trans 10-year transformation strategy is the family of services, also known as FOS. Since 2017, conditionally eligible Wheel-Trans customers have been given the option to travel FOS. Connecting their Wheel-Trans service to conventional buses, streetcars, and subways, the family of services delivery model introduces equity into how services are offered to our customers. If a customer with conditional eligibility is traveling when none of their disability conditions are present, they will receive an FOS trip solution. At this time, FOS remains optional, and all customers can still request to travel door to door. The introduction of FOS has created shorter trip options for Wheel-Trans customers. Previously, the average Wheel-Trans trip was around 17 kilometers, and it's now just under 10 kilometers. FOS allows increased trip availability to meet customer demand for spontaneous travel. A 2023 customer survey conducted by Forum Research indicates that 31% of our Wheel-Trans customers voluntarily use the conventional TTC on a regular basis, which is tremendous news. Wheel-Trans has also implemented a number of different initiatives to assist our customers who are transitioning to using the family of services. Wheel-Trans connects our customers today to 70 accessible TTC and bus routes and stations, of course, at over 500 different accessible stops, and these stops have shelters and benches for our customers to wait for their connections. The family of services stops, as you can see in this picture, or I will describe, have stop poles marked with a no-show board, and this is a way to easily identify that this is a family of service transfer stop. Wheel-Trans customers who opt to travel using a family of services, again, I mentioned earlier, will have their trips monitored for service delays and emergencies by Wheel-Trans dispatch. Another important aspect of assistance that we provide our customers with is travel training. And travel training is a free program for all Wheel-Trans customers who wish to travel on conventional transit. In 2023, over 100 customers participated in travel training, and we have completed nearly 700 travel training sessions since 2017. The objective of travel training is simple. We want to support and familiarize our customers with traveling on the conventional system using FOS. Our customers will receive orientation and navigation assistance, and of course we have many different types of travel training which we will tailor to an individual's needs. Our two travel trainers, Arlen and Victoria, are here at the public consultation today, and I see them sitting in the back of the room. So I encourage anybody interested in partaking in travel training to approach them, and they'll be happy to assist you. But they can also be reached by emailing traveltraining@ttc.ca or calling our travel training line at 416-472-2393. We also offer all conditionally eligible customers an FOS handbook, comprehensive handbook, which goes through some of the details of scheduling FOS trips and transferring from the different modes in a safe and effective manner. In 2021, an FOS instructional video was created, and this video is an accessible tool that demonstrates to customers how to identify Wheel-Trans transfer stops, how to use accessible fare gates and elevators at stations, and of course how to safely board and exit conventional buses, streetcars, and subways. The video also depicts the responsibility of Wheel-Trans operators and contracted taxi drivers in ensuring a smooth and safe transportation and transfers. Modernization. In order to be responsive to our ever-changing customers' needs, it's essential that the 10-year Wheel-Trans strategy focused on modernizing the service delivery model in accordance with the AODA to remove barriers to transit by improving accessibility on the conventional transit. For instance, the Wheel-Trans scheduling system can automatically schedule trips now based on a customer's eligibility and conditions. And we've also introduced a mobile app to complement online booking, which allows customers traveling by Wheel-Trans to track when it'll arrive. Modernization of Wheel-Trans scheduling software has also created a user-friendly experience for customers, which results in improved call response times, reduced call wait times, improved on-time delivery of service. We mentioned the mobile app tracking, increased on-demand service availability, and the ability to provide spontaneous and equitable service which meets customers' eligibility criteria. This concludes my presentation. I thank everyone very much for listening, and we will now listen to you, our customers and stakeholders, your feedback and questions to address any concerns with the TTC's family of services. Thank you, Denise.
Thanks so much, Dean. And thanks to Angela and also to Cameron. Okay, it's your turn, but let's just talk about how you can talk to us. Just one more time, a quick reminder. If you would like a blue card, or if you have a blue card filled out, you can raise your hand and somebody will come around to pick up or drop off a blue card for you. And this is how you can write your question down and we will read them out loud. I know that there's already a couple of them at the back. If you would like to speak at the microphone, if you have a question or a comment, you can raise your hand, and there are 2 folks with microphones in the room that will come over and stand and hand you a microphone, and we'll create a speakers list in the room. If you're online, once again, you can type in your questions or your comments into the chat box, and we'll create space throughout the question and answer period to hear from the folks who are online as well. There's lots of you. And there's not a ton of time, but there is time. We've got about an hour and a half. So I would just really remind you to try and keep your comments short and brief so that we can answer as many people and speak to as many people as we can during this session. I'd like to encourage you that if you have a personal experience with the system, you're welcome to share a little bit about it just to give us the context. But if it's a personal question, we can set you up with a customer service rep after the session. And we would really like to hear questions about the general FOS system and program and Wheel-Trans in general so that it's applicable to all of the folks who are listening in. Another thing that's helpful if you've got a challenge or a problem, what happens is that we gather together all of these problems, but it's sometimes hard to figure out what the best response is. And you're actually the people who have the best solution for the challenges and problems that you're experiencing. And so if you would like to share a concern or a problem with us, we would love to hear what would be helpful for you. That allows us to have a jumping off point in terms of how we can solve that problem for you once we're looking at all of the feedback. So just something to keep in mind as you're thinking about your questions. We got to work together, you and I, so that we can get as many people speaking as possible. If you are speaking at the mic, I would like to try and keep you on track. If I feel like you're going off track, I'm going to raise my hand up. If you can't see my hand, I'll use my voice to just sort of remind you to sort of wrap up in a timely fashion. And that's just so that we can create space for all the folks that are in the room. Once you've asked your comment or your question, once you've asked the folks at the table, Angela, Dean, or Cameron, to respond to something, I'd like to ask that you don't interrupt the person speaking. It is hard for them to respond to you if they're being interrupted, and it's hard for people in the room to hear if you're trying to speak over the speaker. There's an opportunity to ask follow-up questions if you need, but just try not to interrupt the folks who are responding to you. So again, if you've filled out a blue card or if you need a blue card, you are welcome to raise your hand at the moment. And if you would like to speak, if you've got a question on your mind, then please feel free to raise your hand. And we've got the mic runners who are here to come to you. So we've got somebody at the front here.
Well, I have a couple of concerns, and I've written down most of my concerns. I also am a person that deals with MS, and as of late, I've been having some memory issues. And recently, I've suffered 4 suspensions. Or, sorry, not 4, 3, for unknown reasons. I mean, I was told by Wheel-Trans that I failed to make phone calls to let them know that I wasn't taking trip. Well, how can I book a trip that I never even booked? Okay, they said that I failed to cancel the trip, or I failed to call in to say that I couldn't travel. Well, I never even booked that trip. So that's quite disturbing. And then to suffer a suspension for that reason made absolutely no sense to me. Another concern I have is with my memory issues, you know, that isn't taken into consideration whatsoever. If I don't remember to call because I can't remember to pick up a phone to call, and I'm not really comfortable using the internet, so I'm not comfortable using those services, and sometimes my hands don't work properly. So even as I'm writing here, I'm having difficulty writing. So, and then 4 years ago, I fell on the subway. As I was making my way into a subway vehicle, I went to sit down, and then I saw that there was a handicap seat, so I wanted to move to that seat. And by the time I got myself over to the seat, the train was moving and I fell. So when I called the TTC, they had the audacity to offer me $500. And I said, thank you, but no thank you. And I'll tell you, as a result of that fall, my mobility has gotten worse and worse. So that's been a huge issue for me. And the fact that, you know, I had to take a subway to Islington recently, there's no elevator there. So with my walker, how am I supposed to get up to the bus level if there's no elevator? So I want to know why there's no elevators at a lot of your subway stations. Just doesn't make sense to me. And
Can I just want to pause you there just for 1 second, because there's quite a few questions, and so you can have the mic back after, but I just want to give the folks at the table an opportunity to respond so that we don't lose any of the pieces. So the first couple of questions were around the booking system and suspensions.
Can handle that. So thank you, first of all, for your feedback, and I'm sorry to hear about the fall, certainly on the subway. That's that's very difficult, and I'm sorry for the response. It wasn't, what you were looking for, and I obviously, want you to know that Wheel-Trans is here for you in any way going forward, and we understand that sometimes, your condition can get in the way, and you may forget to call and whatnot, and so the suspensions likely were a result of, our no-show and late cancellation policy kicking in. So in those cases where you're getting a phone call or you've been advised that you've been suspended, I would encourage you to call and let us know that you've had an issue, you forgot to call, or there's been something, and then we can waive that for you. I also want to let you know that our manager of customer service is here today, and so after we end this session, I want you to connect directly with him, and I'll have him come see you, and we'll make sure that we will get that sorted out for you. He can kind of explain, the way it works in terms of that policy, and we can, take care of that for you. So I want to first address that. The second thing that I think you mentioned.
please tell me who that person is.
Yeah, so his name is Loden. He's in the back, and I'll make sure that he comes see you as soon as we're done with this.
Vanessa on numerous occasions, and it falls on deaf ears.
Okay. So yeah, he will connect with you right after. Islington subway station, yes, that is one of the subway stations that has not been made accessible yet. It is actually one of the ones that we're having the most difficulty with making accessible. Don't quote me, it is on the TTC website in terms of the timelines. I believe that it is about 2 years or so from now that Islington Station will be accessible. So, the vast majority now have been made accessible, but we still have, I think it's approximately about 15 or so stations to come online, to have elevators installed, and sorry, yes, Islington Station is one of those.
Thanks so much, Cameron.
His name is Loden. And Loden will come see you. He's just standing in the back there if you want to turn around, and Loden will come see you after.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share?
I've also had some difficulties with some of the drivers that have picked me up. They've been rude and arrogant, and actually I had a swearing session with one of the drivers who told me to F off. like really unacceptable behavior, really. Because I said to him, you know, I'm in a hurry to get home and I have to go to the washroom. And he said, well, don't be doing any of your business on my seat because I'm going to have to throw you out of my vehicle. Like, who talks like that? It's just unbelievable, you know? Or they'll tell me that they can't accommodate my walker because there's no room in their vehicle to accommodate my walker. And they know I have a walker. So, I mean, why would they give me a driver that can't take my walker for me? You know, that's a huge problem for me.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Is there something?
Yeah, so I'm very, very sorry. That falls way below any standards we have in terms of customer service. Again, make sure if you do have specific incidents that you can recall of recent, in your chat with Loden, please let them know. But I encourage in the future, if you do run into a situation where you do encounter an operator that is rude, they're not accommodating your walker, anything like that, please do report it. I know it takes time to report it, but it does allow us to follow up and take action with that operator to ensure that it doesn't happen again. So I'm sorry that it is happening, and I know there's a burden on the customer to report that, but it is our way to make sure that we curb those issues and they don't happen again in the future.
So you're getting through to your customer service line? I'm sitting on hold waiting for close to an hour to speak to somebody. It's just ridiculous. Not only that, the other day when I was traveling, because I'm a religious person and I go to synagogue every Saturday, and last Saturday I went into my purse to look for my Presto card, and I ended up pulling out a bunch of my cards, and he took the wrong card. He took a credit card, which I don't ever use. He took it, he swiped it, and I said I didn't want to use that card. Well, too bad. Too bad. I don't even use that card anymore. And he charged me a regular fare, and I'm a senior. So, like, unacceptable behavior from some of these drivers.
So just addressing the customer service wait times, we did have a bit of a spike in those wait times, and we understand that over the last 6 months or so. We've taken steps to correct that, and we've just brought on board an additional 4 customer service reps to add to the phone lines. They'll be coming online within the next couple of weeks, so we do expect to see a significant improvement in the average wait time for our customer service queue. It's been better the last few weeks or so, which is great, and we expect to get that down, under the 3 or 4 minute range within the next few weeks once they're on board.
Well, I would like to offer some praise to this Isabella, who I spoke to this morning. She was wonderful. She addressed all my needs and took care of me perfectly.
Great.
So I want to, offer, praise for this particular lady who was just wonderful on the phone with me.
Thank you for the feedback, and I know Loden is listening, so thank you for that feedback, and we'll make sure that employee is commended.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And if you've got more comments later, please feel free to put up your hand. We have somebody behind you, and then I know we have 2 comment cards that have already been submitted. So after this question, then we'll go to the comment cards, and if you're thinking about something, please feel free to raise your hand, and we'll put you on the speakers list.
Hi. Just to add to what the lady said, we need to extend customer service past 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock. We need to extend that. Okay. I have been assaulted twice on TTC. Last year, between the month of July, August, I phoned TTC the next day because it was after 6 and lodged my complaint. And the person took the complaint and they said someone will get back to you. They took about 3 weeks to 4 weeks to get back to me. First, I received a card with TTC's do's and don'ts and all that. And then I'm sitting there reading the card and I says, well, the lady that assaulted me, I hope they send this information to her. I picked up the phone to call and someone was on the line calling me. It was a manager from Wheel-Trans customer service. And she asked to speak, my name is Catherine. She asked to speak to Catherine. I says, speaking. And she said to me, we have concluded our search on your complaint. And she did not even address what happened to me. She started off with our search found that you were touching the customer throughout the entire ride. And I stopped her right there. I said, lady, you need to stop talking. Lady, please stop talking. You don't know what you're talking about. I said to her again, and what she said to me, okay, I'm listening. Tell me what happened. I said, the driver picked me up from 5095 Young Street. It was just myself and the driver in the vehicle. So where did all this touching take place? Between me sitting in the back of a van, it was a Scarborough van, and the driver driving. The driver proceeded a little north, and he turned at the side of the building. He picked me up, and he went east, and then made a right turn at the stop sign. I don't know the name of those side streets. And he came to the lights at Shepherd Avenue East. When the lights changed, he crossed over into a building on the southeast corner of Shepherd, on the east side of Shepherd. I recognize the building. It's the building where the courthouse is. That's the parking lot that he pulled into. Yes?
Catherine, can we just, I appreciate your story, and I'm glad that you're sharing it with us. Is there something is there a question or a comment that we can move to?
Well, the comment is, it's the way I was treated. I am the victim, and I'm made to feel like an ant. That's how she made me feel. And when I explained to her the whole route of where the driver picked up this person, where the assault took place, at least she was understanding, and she apologized to me. She says, Catherine, I'm so sorry what happened to you. But the next time, and I pray there's not a next time, that any accident happened to you on Wheel-Trans, that you let the driver continue with his call and call the police, let the police come. Now, my second assault took place on February 15th in that snowstorm. The driver picked me up from the Blind Institute building. That's where my doctor is. He told me he had 2 other people to pick up. He proceeded on a side street that took him out on the north side of Eglinton and Young. Proceed southbound to pick up these 2 other people. He missed the number of the building, so he had to park on a side street, and he came out and walked to find these 2 people. When he returned, it was a good half an hour later, I don't know how far he had to walk. When he came back, it was 4 people coming. It was the driver, the 2 passengers, and I believe it's one of the people from the daycare where he picked up these people from. He put the person that assaulted me in the back seat behind the driver. I am sitting on the other side of the back seat behind the person that is going to sit up front. But I was assaulted by this person in the Young and Eglinton area. First, he started attacking the driver by hitting the driver. Now, that was kind of dangerous. The driver is trying to focus on the road, and there's nobody to control this person. And he hit the driver 3 times. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm really sorry to hear about the second assault. What was the response from TTC for that assault?
Well, that I got no response from. I got this rude woman calling me after 2 weeks of investigation, because this time I brought the police in on the matter. She phoned me. Can I speak to Catherine? I said, speaking. We have completed our investigation into your alleged assault. That's how she addressed me. And I said to the lady, what happened to me was not an alleged. I was brutally assaulted in the back of a Beck taxi cab, and the driver did not stop. He didn't call for help. He took the 401, and I screamed from Young and Eglinton across the 401 up to Keel Street to where I live, north of Shepherd, south of Finch. And the driver, when he pulled into the driveway, The person was still groping me and elbowing me. I was beaten in my left arm with this person, this man-child. Beat me in my left arm. I am in therapy. I could barely lift my left hand. And how I felt when this person who called me from Wheel-Trans, I felt insulted when she says, "Your alleged attack." There's nothing alleged what happened to me. It was vicious. And up to now, I have not got a response from Wheel-Trans as to the investigation. What she told me is, because I brought the police and the law into it, I can go talk to the police. That's what she told me. And that was the response. So I want to know, why did she call me to insult me that way? I ask a question. Did the driver get Wheel-Trans training? Because I understood that all the people that work, the drivers that carry Wheel-Trans passengers, has to go through some form of training. She said to me, "I don't know, we are still investigating that." But you just told me you completed your investigation. So what was the reason for calling me? And I want to know what Wheel-Trans TTC is going to do, because I am a senior. What are they going to do to protect the elderly people from being assaulted by these mentally challenged people, mentally disturbed people? What is Wheel-Trans going to do to protect us?
Thank you. Thanks.
That's what I need to know.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, I can handle it. So first, Catherine, I'm very, very sorry. That sounds harrowing, and I'm sorry for the response that came from the customer service department with that. Loden is listening, and I think Loden is going to connect with you directly. He is the gentleman in the back of the room there, and if you can just put up his hand so you can see him if you want to just look over your shoulder. He will reopen this investigation. This investigation clearly is not complete. You have not received the response that you deserve, and so we can look back into this issue and we can ensure that we resolve it to your satisfaction. Going forward, yes, there is training. All of our operators are trained. They're trained to deal with assaults. They're trained to provide the customer service that we expect them to provide. So if that doesn't take place, then absolutely we wish that you do tell us and call customer service and let us know. And we will double down and send some reminders to our customer service folks to ensure that they are being as empathetic as possible, that we're doing full and thorough investigations, so that we aren't having customers walking away who are the victims feeling like they aren't listened to, or their complaint feels like it's not validated. So I'm sorry for that, and Loden will be sure to connect with you to make sure that this issue is resolved to your satisfaction.
One more thing. I am the type of passenger, I like talking to my drivers. And I asked a couple of Beck taxi drivers, I said to them, how come when you pick up Wheel-Trans passengers, unless they're not with a wheelchair and you have to get your wheelchair out of the back of the vehicle, how come you don't get out of the vehicle and open the door and assist someone like me with a cane struggling to get out of your back seat? The driver said to me, we are not Wheel-Trans employees. We are Beck taxi drivers. That's what the driver told me. He says, Beck has a contract with TTC, and Beck sends us. If we happen to be in the area where that Wheel-Trans person is, they will send us to pick them up. Otherwise, we are not Wheel-Trans employees. That's what I was told. And I told that woman that insulted me when she called me, and she says, they all supposed to go through training. But these guys, when they talk to you, they are serious. I said, but you guys are supposed to go for training. He said to me, and a couple of them, different ones I talked to, they says, no, we refuse to lose a day's pay, because when we lose that day's pay to go to Wheel-Trans training, who is going to pay us for that money we lose? That's what he said to me. And he said, when, at the end of the month, when we have to pay Beck for the taxi plate, you think Beck is going to pardon us because we lost the day's pay? No, they're not. So that's why we're not. I'm finished.
Thanks so much, Catherine.
So, Catherine, you are correct. They are required to assist the customer through the first set of doors at the destination or at the pickup location. So if they're not doing that, yes, they're not following proper procedures and protocols, no matter if a customer is in a powered chair, if they're in a walker, if they're with a cane. It doesn't matter. They are supposed to do that. So if they're not, we encourage you to please let us know, call customer service, so we can follow up directly with that operator and ensure that appropriate action is taken so that they will do that in the future. They are required to go through training. We've got a couple of our contracted taxi folks with us here today, so I know they're listening and they hear this stuff, and they can maybe follow specifically up with Beck about this. But each of those contractors, even though, yes, they have other trips and other jobs, and we call them at the last minute to pick up one of our customers. They are trained, and so they do have the same customer service standards as those accessible taxis or our Wheel-Trans buses, and are to provide the same level of service as those other vehicles. So, yeah, I would encourage you to please report that if you see that. That's certainly not what should be happening out there, and I'm sorry that you've had those cases where it has.
Actually, I'm going to just pause you for a second because there's quite a few other questions in the room and there's some stuff online. So just hold on to your question. You're welcome to write it down on a comment card if you'd like, or one of the folks here could help you write down on the card. And if there's time, then we can definitely come back to you. I see your hand at the front, but we've got, so we're going to do one card, one online question. If Emily's still around, she had a hand up. I have there's a lady with blonde hair here, and then you, and then you. So we'll take the card and the online question first, please.
So the first in-person question, I need to beg operators for assistance boarding or with securement. Why aren't people with disabilities training conventional operators?
Okay, I certainly can take on that question. So 100% the operators on the conventional side have received training. They understand the policies and procedures that requires them to kneel the buses and to deploy ramps, and certainly to offer our customers who are using mobility devices and require securement to offer them that option. A customer is not obligated on a regular bus to get secured, but they certainly should have the attention of the driver and be asked if they would like that, and they should have the seat lifted. So if that is the case, we always recommend, and I know our travel trainers, when they're out on the system with customers, if they see anything with respect to a policy or procedure that needs to be brought to the attention of the manager, they will do so as well. So I'm sorry that was whoever's experience, but rest assured, we have a very committed staff on the conventional TTC to accommodating people with accessibility needs.
And Angela would like to respond as well.
ACAP members, and I've done it, have participated in the training sessions of the conventional operators. And it is this kind of feedback, our kind of feedback, that enables us to reinforce the need for them to offer securement. And I agree with you, sometimes they'll offer, sometimes they don't. They do have training in how to do it. TTC is spending a lot of money with new vehicles. We're reviewing the securement that is going to be on them, and you'll see some changes on those buses as far as securement being something that is done by the motorized, if you will. It's not automatic, but it's motorized. So the point I wanted to make is that this feedback is important, and we do get it to the operators.
Thanks so much, Angela. And we've got an online question as well.
So the first online question is, why is it so hard for someone who has a service dog to travel on the TTC? Additionally, shuttle buses are not accommodating people with disabilities.
So I'll take that question again. It's a very similar answer to the one I provided earlier. So we have an absolute obligation to accommodate an individual who uses a service animal, whether that's on Wheel-Trans, whether that's on the conventional TTC. So again, it's disheartening to hear if a customer experiences that. All we can say is it is not the proper procedure. We, as Angela mentioned, with the assistance of the advisory committee, we are reminding drivers. We have a campaign right now whereby we have created these very large and specific posters, for lack of a better term, that we position in a key area within each bus division, so that when an operator comes in or when an operator leaves, they're reminded about their accessibility accommodation. We're hoping it's the utmost in their mind. But failing that, I always recommend that customers call it in. If you are able to get a bus number, if you are able to visually see the operator's badge number now is on the display board at the front of the bus. That's another key way in which we can bring these concerns right to the managers.
Angela just wanted to respond. Yeah.
Just to add to that, it's the law that persons using dog guides have to be accommodated anywhere that they go. The other point, I'm losing my memory. The other point I want to say is whenever a person offers securement or assistance, I always say, no, thank you for asking, because that encourages them to ask again. Because we need to be very vigilant about doing the reports on things, procedures when they are not put in place, because it's only that continuing use that's going to make the conventional system more accessible for us to use consistently. If we don't speak up, it doesn't happen.
Thanks so much, Angela. Emily, you had your hand up earlier, and we put you on the speakers list. You would like to speak? Okay, so Emily, and then I have this lady here. You had your hand up, and then you in the front, and then you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm sad to see not many people showed up. Okay. Who else didn't show up? Jamel Myers, head of TTC, chair of the TTC board, as well as the chair of the Toronto Accessibility Advisory Committee. And look who else didn't show up. Where's Rick Leary, CEO of TTC? Clearly the people in charge don't give a damn about us, as usual. But I digress. 2 quick points. One, the young lady that spoke over there about being attacked in a cab. My husband has been attacked in Beck sedan taxis. My late mother had her phone stolen by a Beck taxi driver, and it cost us $57 to get it back because I called Beck Taxi and I begged them to bring back my mom's phone. She was profoundly deaf. That phone was her only means of outside communication. When Beck Taxi tells you they can't find the phone or the driver can't find the phone, I'd reckon 70% of the time it's BS, okay? We all know what that means. Very quickly, I've taken 12 buses in the last 4 days. I'm on the conventional TTC whenever I possibly can. Now, who'd like to guess how many of those 12 buses did I have to beg and plead to get on, lift my own seat, ask people to move out of the way, and the driver just sits behind his shield and just lifts a finger to push a button to lift the ramp? Guess how many? 1 driver. And Tuesday, when I was coming here from the far northwest end, and I booked my Wheel-Trans a few days before, I never got my ride. Same as today. I didn't get my rides. How many days in advance do I need to book my rides? It's not fair that ambulatory are being put on smaller buses and not sedans and minivans, and those of us with power wheelchairs are being forced to book days in advance. There's also no priority system for those of us that are employed, that just are trying to get to our jobs and medical appointments. I can't tell you the number of times I've been late for work, or the minivans have come to the wrong location, back of City Hall. They can't find it. They mark me as a no-show. How many more people with disabilities who try to find employment, try to have a job, are going to lose those jobs because clearly the TTC doesn't give a flying hoot about those of us that are trying to be gainfully employed and independent, much less the attacks on the TTC. I'm verbally attacked on a daily basis. I've been physically attacked. And let's not even talk about the elevators. The TTC is a homeless shelter. People care more about the homeless shelter of the TTC than people with disabilities. Thank you. Safety first. Safety, safety, safety. Don't you dare force FOS unless you can guarantee this system gives a damn about us. And your big bus shelters are homeless shelters. Overlea Boulevard, Jane and Eglinton, and many more. Until it's safe, don't expect us to be using the regular system if we don't absolutely have to.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Emily. So what I heard from you was there are issues with Beck Taxi. Okay, yeah, thank you. There are issues with minivan travel. There's issues with missed rides and booking in advance, and also this concern around how our people.
Rides not given that we need.
Thank you. Rides not being available, and especially how are folks supposed to have jobs and daily lives if they can't get access?
So Emily, as always, thank you for your feedback. It's very valuable. We know that you are, a frequent user, both on the conventional side and Wheel-Trans. So yeah, your feedback's very valuable. There is clearly still a lot of work to do. As Dean mentioned, we are doing a lot of work with the conventional operators, with education, awareness, and training. There's still clearly a lot more work to do, and we've heard that. We heard that on Tuesday as well. So we will double down. Dean and I will take this away. We'll speak with management in bus transportation and streetcar and subway, and make sure that this training and the standards that we have set are being upheld. So thank you for the feedback. I'm sorry it's happening. We will take that back. The not getting rides, we pride ourselves in having a very, very low rejection rate in terms of rides. There's still some more that we can do to become more efficient. The team meets on a weekly basis. We have a task force that looks at efficiencies, and operational issues. And so there's going to be a little more that comes out of that. Hopefully we'll improve the amount of times that, you get the exact ride that you want. So more to do on that. We hear you about prioritizing rides. We've looked at that kind of thing in the past. It's difficult for us to determine, whose ride is more important than the other. And if a customer is telling us that, their trip to the church is the most important thing, and another customer said it's work, and another customer is saying it's their, weekly bridge night or whatever it be, it is difficult for us to juggle that. So something we can still try to figure out and how best to prioritize those, work trips or life-sustaining trips or whatnot, and there's some things we have the ability to do with our scheduling software, so let us take that away and work through that. I'm sorry to hear more about Beck. That's a couple times we've heard about Beck Taxi, so
I called Christine Hubbard and her attitude sucks.
Okay, so thank you for the Beck Taxi feedback. We'll take that away.
Thanks so much, Cameron. We have a question over here. Yeah. Not for you. You've got to go somebody behind you and then one other person in front of you. Then you. No, you're all good, Dean. I got you.
The question is the computer. Most people over the age of 70, 75 that are visually impaired do not use a computer. We never learned how to use a computer. We are not going to learn at this stage of our lives. You remind us, go on the computer, see what time you're going to pick us up. I don't want to go on the computer. I'm not really computer literate, and I don't want to learn at this stage. Please delete that. It's wonderful that you call us. I look forward to it. I feel good. I know that I've got 10 or 15 minutes to get downstairs. Sufficient. Delete the computer. That's it.
Thanks so much for that feedback.
I can handle that. So thank you. We totally understand that. And we know that, the self-booking website and the mobile app are not for everyone, and we totally understand that. It is for some people, and we've had a lot of positive feedback for those that are willing to and want to and are tech savvy to use those. However, if you do not want to, we do have our customer service team available to answer any questions you may have. We also have our reservationists available to book rides, and we've done such a fantastic job with reducing the wait time for our reservations line. And we're only at about 1.5 minutes on average for the year. So if you do have any inquiry about your trips or want to book rides, feel free to call reservations. They'll answer your call right away, and they'll take all that for you if you choose that phone option. So.
Thank you so much. We have you in the front. Yep. And then I just want to give us a quick speakers list. So I have yourself, we have Dean, I saw your hand, I have a gentleman in the back, and I see you two over there. And then I think we've got, so before I go to you two, we do have some online questions, but we've got time.
Okay, interesting that you should bring up the issue with Beck Taxi, because I've had issues with them as well. And they've accosted me physically as well as verbally. It's just been horrendous. But my issue is, I will tell you, it took me over an hour to get here this morning, or this afternoon rather. So the driver picked me up. There was one other woman in the vehicle with me, and then we had to go and get another gentleman. His box, he had this huge big box that he couldn't even get into the, I don't know, what do you call the back of the vehicle? The trunk. He couldn't even get it into the trunk, and there was also a mobility device as well that he had to put into the trunk. And the vehicle couldn't even take all 3 mobility devices. So he asked the gentleman to look for another form of transportation to get him where he needed to go. Like, where does the incompetence lie here? Does it lie with the driver, or does it lie with the person that's booking the trips for themselves, that they're not communicating what their needs are? Because it took me well over an hour to get here today, and it was just ridiculous. And then the driver himself didn't even know where he needed to go. So, where is the incompetence? Does it lie with the drivers? I mean, you said right at the very beginning of this session that your drivers are well trained. Well, they're not. It's pretty obvious to me they're not well trained. So there's huge incompetence there.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments.
I'm sorry to hear all this feedback about Beck. Specifically for that situation, it could be either. I mean, there are things that we ask the customer to do, certain mobility devices, and put in the comments if they're going to be bringing things on the trip. So, if there's no, certain mobility device, that's listed in the profile and a customer arrives with one, then yes, it leaves the operator stranded. In that situation, I can't speak to the size of this box and whatnot. Most of the time, the operators will do everything they can to accommodate, what the customer, has with them, and I think it just depends on each situation. I would just say we encourage customers to make sure that, if they are bringing items with them, to be mindful that, there are other customers on board most of the time on the vehicles, and they may have items as well, so just, do your best to limit the amount of items you have, or if you have mobility devices, maybe you don't take every time, or whatnot, make sure they are listed on your profile so that rides are booked and accommodated based on that profile.
This is not the first time I've had this incident happen. There's been other situations where the driver couldn't take more than 2 passengers in his vehicle. I had one driver who was only capable of accommodating 2 people in his vehicle. So, and if he's got 3 passengers he needs to take, so then what happens to the 3rd? It's just ridiculous. So where does the incompetence lie there? Is it with the driver, or is it with you guys?
Thanks for sharing that. And I think that the idea of sort of logistics and vehicle sizes has been logged. So thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for your feedback. We're going to go here to the front and then to the back, and we've got online and comment card questions that we'd like to follow up with. And then I saw your hands over here.
Dean, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. Good. How are you?
A bit upset.
Okay.
Nothing to be surprised about. Can you call your managers from Beck Taxi, Checkered, and Scarborough to come to the front? Can you call those managers that you got here today? Don't let them sit in the back. They should be sitting right up here, hearing what's going on. This morning, every Thursday morning, I have a walking situation with the clinic at 465 Dundas Street East, which is Moss Park, for my ulcers, so I can keep walking and not end up in a wheelchair. I asked the gentleman, we'll just say this is the van. He pulls the door open, pulls out the slide, and he says, "Are you coming?" I said, "I'd like you to hold here and here and guide me down." Well, he said, "What am I, a nurse?" I said, "No, you're an operator. It's supposed to help me on and off this van." You know what he said to me? "Get off the van or I'll get you off the hard way and you'll go right into that wall." Now, Dean, you just can't let these people talk to us like that, threaten us, and say, "Hey, if you land down there on your face, I'm just going to throw the slide in and keep going because I get paid by the person not to help you up off the street." Now, Dean, we need you and the people at customer service, along with Ken, Nigel, Vicky, Brenda, and I can keep going till I name them all, and I know them all, is you've got to come together with these people and be a little bit forceful with Brenda, and Brenda will get a little bit forceful with them, and we'll try to get something done when these characters from Beck, Checkers, Scarborough, they've got to learn to come together. You're dealing with the disabled, and we're not 10, 20 years old. We're 70, 80, and 90. And this afternoon, when I came here to this convention, I asked the guy to come to the end of King and John where the ramp is. And he said, "That's not my problem. Here's the steps." Are you kidding me? I said, "I need some help to come down the ramp."
Can I get you to I just need you to get to a question. We've got a lot.
And the question is, Dean, when are these supervisors from these three carriers that are contractors, and it's always known at the contractor's bottom line is money and not us. Thank you, Dean.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. So first and foremost, again, apologies for this situation. It completely was inappropriate, and certainly it's not representative of what our expectations are from our operators. So I do apologize first and foremost. I don't want to slide that without missing that comment. But by and large, I mean, certainly, as you can imagine, our contracted service, our contracted taxis do provide our customers with good service and do provide our customers with the type of service they require. But in this particular case, it sounds like you had a really poor experience. And we do have managers here today from both. The managers are actually from Wheel-Trans, so they support the taxi contracts, but they're actually from Wheel-Trans, as well as our customer service folks here. So what we're going to do following this meeting is sit down, get the details from you, and that's the way in which we can do proper investigation. So again, I'm sorry that that happened to you.
And Dean, when are they going to put forward health and safety has to come first?
Agreed.
Because if health and safety is not put out front first, then that's when the Wheel-Trans is going to be writing forever of accidents and accidents and accidents when these operators from your private contractors, and they've told me, we don't care, it's not us.
Thanks so much. Without a mic, the people online can't hear you, but what I will reiterate is that you're saying that safety is a main concern, and that's something that you definitely want them. Okay. Health and safety, thank you so much for that comment. We've got one question at the back, and then we're going to go into one online and one card question, and then we've got two folks over here. Just so that we're all aware, we've got about 20 minutes left of questions, so please do keep your comments short, and I will be making sure that you keep them short going forward. So,
yes, good afternoon. There is one very important concerning question. Where I live, which is Danlucky and Bredner area, the Wheel-Trans, when they stop, they do not stop where it's safe. They stop right in just a little past the intersection where you have to unload and then come off, right when there's cars going by, and there's like that much from where the bus is to the sidewalk, which is very dangerous. So I was wondering if that could be looked into where everybody is safe. Thank you.
thanks so much.
So, sir, yeah, why don't you stick around? Again, we'll get the exact details of where that intersection is, and we'll make sure to make those changes. Yeah, you know, as this gentleman said, you know, health and safety is of the utmost importance, and it absolutely is for us. So, yeah, we'll make sure to get that information, and we can make the stop adjustment to account for that. So, thank you.
Thanks so much. So we're going to go to online and card, if you've got it at the back.
So the next online question, why is the Access Hub being used as a transfer point between TTC and YRT instead of Centerpoint Mall at Yonge and Steeles?
Okay, I can take that question. So the reason we switched out to using the Access Hubs, which for the folks in the audience that don't know what the Access Hubs are, they're large, heated, accessible bus shelters that are well lit, is the fact that they're available to us 24/7. And so that's a very important aspect. When you utilize a commercial property or a retail establishment, you're subject to sort of their rules and regulations with respect to hours of operations. So for us and for our partners at York Region, this switch made sense for more of a seamless operation to be able to provide the transfers at that particular Access Hub that you're referring to. I believe it's the one at Yonge and Steeles.
Thanks so much, Dean. And we'll go to a card question.
What percentage of conditional customers who request door-to-door service get door-to-door service? And do you prioritize unconditional customers?
Okay, so I think Cameron spoke a little bit about prioritizing. We don't. The percentage of conditional, unconditional, or temporary customers that ask for Wheel-Trans service is the same. That's 100%. And right now, as mentioned, family of services is optional. If a customer, and some of our customers do, our system does provide them with viable family of service or multimodal solutions. But any customer can still say, no, thank you. I wish to travel door to door today.
Amazing.
Can you give us percentages?
Percentages of?
How many conditional people are making use of family of services?
It's hard to say the exact percentage. It's a fairly low percentage. I mean, there's no doubt when given options that the customers have, the vast majority do select door-to-door, so we're being completely transparent about that. We have some customers who love it and choose to travel family service. And also, I think we mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we also survey the customers. I'm not certain if you yourself are a Wheel-Trans customer, but you may have been a part of a survey where we're actually asking how customers traveled the week prior. And the last survey that we did, much to our amazement and surprise, 31% said that frequently they're just using the conventional service on their own. So that, again, as a percentage in terms of what the system is offering, it's the majority of the trips are door-to-door, for sure, for sure.
Thank you so much. We've got 2 questions over here on the side. You two, yeah, and then we'll go to, we've got a couple more cards at the back, and I see your hand. Thank you so much.
Hello. Thanks for our conversations the other day with both you, Dean, and Cameron. I just want to speak to the restrictions. I'm unconditional, or was unconditional till recently. I'm 55 years old. I have aging issues, but like you, my life doesn't stop at certain times. So I just, no, I can't always get to where I'm going from during rush hours or whatever. And sometimes my life doesn't always stop at darkness. So am I supposed to stay at home? I don't think that's fair. You don't have to stay home, why should I? And also, like many people, I also would like to say I have been hit by bags and verbally assaulted by riders and drivers. They don't. You say that they are courteous and help you get on and whatever. Most of the time, I think one time in about 8 years, I was asked if I needed help to be strapped in. They don't do that. They may think that they do, but they do not. And I just wanted to voice that. And again, thank you for your times the other night. I just wanted to just voice my opinion.
Thanks.
Thank you for that feedback. And I think first you're speaking about the conditions and, you know, your conditional customer, you're going to assign rush hour and I think probably darkness conditions. So again, Loden is at the back and I'll make sure that Loden connects with you. We do have that appeal process, right? So if you do re-register and you go through a re-registration process and you believe that your eligibility doesn't truly reflect what your abilities are, we absolutely have an appeal process for you. Sometimes we don't get it right, and you know, we're the first to admit that. We have to rely on the application that we receive and you know, the healthcare professionals' information that they write in, but sometimes it does help to have a functional assessment take place to truly understand, you know, the barriers to conventional transit. So if that happens, we absolutely have, you know, customer service available to walk you through that process, to set you up with a functional assessment as part of the appeal process to get your either your conditions right or your eligibility right. So I'll make sure that Loden connects with you to start that appeal process if that's something that you want to do. And I hear your same concerns about operators and being hit by bags and them not, you know, doing the things that they need to do. That's definitely one of the biggest takeaways we've had over these last 2 days of sessions is kind of those conventional operators and some of the operator training. So we'll definitely take that away. So thank you.
Thank you so much. We have a question here, and I need to apologize to you because I forgot our gentleman in the front. So you first, no, you first, and then you, and then we'll go to the cards at the back. Sorry about that.
Okay, hi. Last week, 2 times, I was booked to be picked up from One Blue Jays Way. I work down there. My ride, the first ride, last Tuesday, I was supposed to be scheduled, my schedule was 9:20, pick up Co-op. The guy was 15 minutes late, no problem. I was second in line to get in the vehicle. He looked at me, he says, "I'm not taking you. Your walker's too big." 3 walkers. That's a problem lately. I've been noticing that when it's more than 2 walkers, they don't want to take you. I said, "Well, what do you mean my walker's too big?" They said, "Your walker's too big, I'm not taking you." I said, "Then what are you going to do about it? Are you going to call your dispatcher and have your dispatcher arrange, or your dispatcher call Wheel-Trans and make further arrangements for me to get picked up to go home?" Nothing. Then the dispatcher called. "I'm not supposed to be doing this, but the driver says your walker's too big and he can't take you." I said, I said, "He said it, not me." And there were witnesses. Then I never got a ride. I called priority. I never got a ride until 11 o'clock that night. And it was very cold. I caught a cold. My bronchitis kicked off, so I'm just recovering. Same thing happened over the weekend. The driver said he's circling around. The cops are leaving him because you know Bremner is closed off, Bremner and York. We know for how many years we've been there, the drivers, all contract drivers, including Wheel-Trans drivers, are supposed to come up on Lakeshore to Reese and Bremner. Luckily, I've had the supervisor for the TPS keeping me company out there. Even went as far as to say, tell it all the lock-off points, there's a co-op taxi coming for you, and let them in because it's Wheel-Trans. That happened last week from work. Number 2, at gate 13, near the Marriott Hotel, there's a Wheel-Trans pickup and drop-off lane. All the taxis, Co-op, Beck.
I just want to encourage you to get to a question.
am.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I am. They say, oh, we're here for Wheel-Trans pickup when it turned out not to be. When we go outside after work, are you here to pick us up, Wheel-Trans pickup? No. Okay, we're there. We can't get a ride in. Our ride can't come in. So I'm just wondering, what can be done about that? And what about what's going on with our walkers? We can't get into a taxi.
Thank you, and I'm sorry you're getting left behind. That is just, totally the responsibility of dispatch to get you a ride immediately. As long as you're booking your rides and you're indicating that you have a walker with you, there should be no concerns. So that's totally unacceptable. I'm sorry for that. I do want Loden to come and connect with you after just to make sure that your profile is set up properly, to make sure that we're accounting for your mobility devices. And as long as your profile is set up properly, which it should be, then we will double down with those contractors. That's totally unacceptable. That shouldn't be happening. We will also contact the taxi contractors, and I know that the guys are listening here about the pickup point at Blue Jays Way to ensure that unless they're there for a Wheel-Trans pickup, they shouldn't be blocking that space because that's what it needs to be prioritized as. So I'm very sorry about those two issues, and I hope that we can figure out your issues with the walker and that it's not something with your profile. And if it's not, please call customer service right away. If anyone's trying to do that to you and telling you can't fit the walker in to the vehicle, because we'll follow up with those contractors right away. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Cameron, and thank you so much for sharing those comments and feedbacks. We have our gentleman here in the front, and then we're going to go to 2 cards at the back.
You know the reason why I sit at the front? Nobody knows. I want to see you guys' face when you answer these questions. Hold it, my dear. You know why? Everybody over there, except this young lady over here, said they're sorry. They're sorry. The operators for most, it happened to me, it happened to me 3 times with a back taxi. I can't go in a taxi. But when it happened first, I give, when it happened the second, I give that. When it happened the third time, I said no. I phone customer service and tell them really how I feel. But you always said you sorry. Sorry doesn't work, man. Nothing works for us here. Nothing works for us. You know what works? Action. Then I explained to them what is the problem. The problem is you all, not we all here. You all. You guys said you're going to follow up. I had to tell them what to do. Tell them, I cannot go in a back taxi. If I go, I have to lie down. And when I'm ready to get up, I have to go like when you shove something inside. It's not what I asked for in this world. But what we doing about it? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All of us here, and you guys, you three people gonna be like me, and some of these people someday. Then you gonna realize I never know I would be like this. But the great one say you have to go to 1 to 5, and when you finish 5, you have to go to the other hand. So both hands work together, but it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You know how many years I am driving in this world? 105 years. You know how many years I am in now? 85 years. How can you figure that out? No one can figure it out. I can figure and tell you. I used to work 12 hours a day for 25 years. If you put 12 hours a day, which is an 8-hour, human supposed to work, how many years is that? I didn't went to university. I didn't went to, what you call it? Whatsoever. I just went to third standard in my school. Third. I know my friend, everybody fed up, but we are facing the difficult today. We are facing. Why you think too many people don't show up? The last time I went over there, and you guys make some changes of me.
I need you to just
go in a big taxi. I'm not blaming the other people, but I cannot. Thank you for listening to me, and don't try to do anything, because I know you guys won't do anything. Training, I can train your people, but when I finish training them, they're gonna do what they want to do. I see it every morning. Beep, beep. Stop.
Is there a question or something that you would like to have responded for? Okay, so let's do a question.
My question had been fixed for me. It been fixed for me. What about these other people book their ride and they can't go? And you said you're gonna call customer service is what? It's somebody who don't know the right foot from the left foot. So I know both feet, and I know you feet. Oh, you have a sexy shoes. Eh? I know both feet. But the people who are walking today, I'm not blaming the generation gap, but the people who are walking today, this lady experienced the difficulty in life, and some of us here, and we are facing it. Please, I'm asking you, please, don't say, I know what you're going through. You don't know. Try to know. Try.
So
the word is sorry.
No, I'm not saying sorry. I'm saying what I'm hearing. I want to just summarize what I'm hearing from you, and we do have to move on to the other questions. So what I'm hearing from you is that back taxi is not working for you.
And they never come back since I made the complaint.
Oh, good.
And I tell them, I know you didn't make it. You didn't make it. A lady like me, because we are in the same bracket. I make it, and they said okay. And positive, when I phone, I tell them, I don't want no taxi.
Okay. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So Beck Taxi is not working for you. You would like to see more action and less sorry. I hear you, but we're going to move on. Yeah.
You just move on. You sit right in front and look at us.
Sorry?
Sit right in front and look at us. You're not moving on.
We're gonna move on to the next set of questions, and we're happy to.
Look, this gentleman here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for providing that.
I must thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna go to some questions at the back. We've got 2 comment cards, I believe, and we've got about 10 minutes left for questions. So we're gonna take those, and then we'll see where we're at. There's another one beside you. Yeah. I saw your hand. So we've got 2 comment cards, and then I saw your hand.
I would like to learn how to use the ride line and how to book trips online. Where can I get more information about that?
Absolutely, that's great. We encourage the use of the ride line, absolutely. If you just call customer service, so 416-393-4111, they can walk you through exactly how to use the ride line. And some exciting news, we're in the process right now of going out for tender for an upgraded ride line, so an IVR, interactive voice response system. That'll be much easier, much more accessible for our customers to use if they choose to use that tool to book their trips. So a lot more that I'll be sharing publicly on that over the next year or so, but that's some exciting news that's coming up.
I'm going to leave some time for that.
Sorry?
Is that the reason why I'm trying to book rides online and it's not working at all?
That wouldn't be the reason, I'm not sure, but when you connect with Loadin there, we can try to figure out why it's not working for your online profile.
Thank you so much. We've got another question from the cards.
What are the protocols of where Wheel-Trans can park to pick up or drop off customers? Sometimes the operators stop on busy streets or intersections.
So it does vary. It's a difficult question to answer because it does depend on the location. Certainly Wheel-Trans buses do not pull into driveways. They park curbside. So, if you encounter a situation, where the pickup is on a busy street, they may be pulling, to the nearest, curbside on a side street, that type of thing. Accessible taxis and sedans, they can't access more areas than buses. So a lot of the time we have to have a supervisor assess a location to determine the safety of that pickup or drop-off location. So it really just depends on where it is. And we assess that on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, thank you so much, Cameron. We have time for one more question, and I'm going to take this lady in the front, and I would encourage you to get straight directly to your question.
I will be 1 minute.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much.
I wrote it down.
Great.
These are kind of wrap-up comments, really. I don't really have a question. No, I do, actually. It seems to me, my overwhelming impression is that there is an enormous gulf between the understanding and experience of the system on the part of users and the part of the people who design and operate the system. Users do not understand how enormously complex and complicated the system is and what's involved in making it work. And I think that that is a huge, huge issue, because what you end up with basically is a complaint-driven system that is not really objective or principle-driven. You have principles that you are responsible for delivering on, for example, legislative requirements, but we all have complex individual issues that don't always, that are hard to deal with on a systemic basis. So, keeping in mind what this man over here in the front row has said, I have a very, very serious question that was raised in some of the articles that I read prior to coming to this meeting. And let me just start by saying, if I'm taking a writing course and I write an essay, I think I've done a terrific job. And I give myself an A+, because I know how much work I put into it and how much I know. But golly, it goes to a teacher, and I get a C. This is my lead-in to the question of why has there never been an independent review of Wheel-Trans operations? One that you don't conduct, but that you are part of, the same as users are part of. And I recognize that's probably a financial issue. But my response to that would be to say, find the money, find it. Because until there is an objective review, listening to individual issues, and you guys sitting there saying, sorry, 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 is not going to solve the problems. It needs an objective, independent view.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I don't really need a reply.
Okay. We don't have to.
Yeah, I just briefly, no, and I mean, you raise a great point. And so a couple of things that I think we have to bring to the forefront is the fact that public consultation is a way for us to get feedback from the end user, from lived experience. So I can speak for Cameron when I say these are invaluable for us. We've done many consultations since 2017. When we first introduced the Wheel-Trans 10-year transformation program, it was an annual event, and we would hold sessions such as this.
But I don't question any of that.
Sure. No, but I'm getting to the independent review piece, though, too.
I accept that. But
Yep.
that itself is one of the problems because it puts you in a position of having to defend the system. But you're part of it.
Sure.
And people who are part of it in the way that you are not going to be able to fix it if you don't have the big view.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just make one comment about independent reviews and whatnot. So we did have the Auditor General do a review, and the transformation program that we have embarked upon, which we have a couple of years left on, is a result of that review. So the Auditor General did do that independent review. And so it would be online. If you stick around after, we can figure out exactly where that is. But so they made a whole series of recommendations. And so the 10-year transformation program is a result of those recommendations. Listen, if we feel like it's necessary to have another independent review come up and whatnot, absolutely. I mean, I think that everyone here is open to that. I mean, ultimately, we want to improve the service that we offer you as our customers, and we really care deeply about that. And you make a great point. Obviously, yes, it's hard sometimes when you're spending all this time writing your own essay and you're really proud of it, and then you get the feedback and you're automatically defensive. So we get that. So and that's a very good point that you make. And we'll continue to run these because they are invaluable. We want to connect with customers. We want to make sure we get surveys out there and just get as much feedback as we can. So thank you.
Thanks. I'm actually going to move us along, and I'm so sorry, but let me let you know that there's other ways to submit your questions, submit your thoughts to us. There are lots of people in the room who have questions, and so there's two ways at this point that you can respond that you can submit your questions. There are the blue forms at the back. And so if you would like to submit a blue question form, those will be recorded in the report. And if you would like to fill out the survey, there are 3 ways to do that. You can access that with ttc.ca. Thanks so much. ttc.ca is one place where it is. It's also on the Wheel-Trans booking site. And then if you would prefer, if you don't want to use the computer, as we've heard some of the feedback today, you can call 416-393-4111, and any of the staff that are here today can write that number down for you. So I'm going to turn it over to Angela to give you a quick 2-minute wrap up, and then over to Cameron. And I'm sorry, we do know that it's hard when there's limited time and lots of questions, and there will be staff afterwards to respond to you personally if you want to ask your question, or if you would like to just submit your question, you can do that. So I'm going to send it to Angela.
Number one, if you have comments, questions, you can also get in touch with ACAT for you and do a deputation. Come to a meeting beforehand, give the information regarding your deputation so that you have your 5 minutes to speak, and then we're able to hear and respond to you regarding your concerns. Secondly, I want to acknowledge that people who have unconditional status can still use conventional systems. They're not going to lose Wheel-Trans status. You could still have Wheel-Trans service, but if the time is right, the day is right, and you're feeling all right, you can use conventional service. And the third is the most important, I think, today, is that if you feel that your eligibility is not reflecting your ability to use the conventional system, then by all means, contact the Wheel-Trans customer service to arrange to appeal your eligibility. Thank you for your input. It's really helpful.
Thanks so much, Angela. And I'm going to turn it over to Cameron. And then if you do have things that you would like to say, I will be around to take notes. And there will be staff around that if you would like to submit a question or if you would like to get heard, then we are here in the room for you.
So thank you, Denise. I want to thank all of you for coming out today or following along online. I know we all have busy schedules and sometimes it can be difficult, but we really do value your opinions and the feedback that you gave here today, so thank you. As this gentleman stated, we did, apologize a few times here for some issues that are out there, and it's important for us to be, empathetic for issues that you've experienced, but the most important thing is now that we take action. Once you've addressed these and given us this feedback, that we take action. And I want to assure you that we do take action and we do use these public forums to improve the business that we run and the service that we offer. And, I have a very, very good team with me here today and back at Wheel-Trans head office who are very passionate and dedicated individuals that care about the service that we provide. And I can assure you that, we are all working very, very hard to do what we can do, to improve Wheel-Trans service and make it better, make the connection with the accessible conventional system that much smoother. And so, I just want to thank you again for coming out today. And we look forward to hearing you again in the future, hearing from you again in the future, and potentially seeing you at public forums. So thank you very much.
In October, right?
Yes, so a reminder, we will be having our annual public forum on accessible transit sometime in the fall, and there'll be lots of information coming out over the summer about the details of when and where that will be. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And if you would like to speak to one of us, please approach one of the staff, myself, anybody that was sitting at the front. I know that there's still a few questions in the room. And also, again, if you can't stay, if you need to go, there are the blue comment forms for sure that you can access. Thanks so much.